Hi everyone, I'm Sumit Verlekar. I'm the founder of Tilden Global Education. We are an admissions consulting firm. We help people get into top MBA programs, MS programs, masters in management programs, as well as top undergraduate programs across the world. Today we have a very special guest with us. It is Aditi Bihade, who is just a recent admit to London Business School for the 25-26 cycle. She will be joining London Business School in this coming fall. So, hi Aditi, welcome.
Hi Sumit, how are you?
Good, good. I'm well. Thanks for joining. So, Aditi, why don't you introduce yourself to the audience?
Sure. Hi everyone, I am Aditi Bihade. I am originally from Amravati, a small town in Maharashtra. I have 4 years of work experience working as a senior analyst in strategy and operations department at Mastercard. I completed my undergrad from IIT Guwahati, majoring in mathematics and computing. And as Sumit mentioned, I'll be joining London Business School in this fall for the August 2026 intake. Yep.
Beautiful, beautiful. So, let's now talk about your profile, right? Your profile is kind of more in math, computing, data, right? You also worked with Mastercard in more on the data side of things. So, could you tell the audience or share with the audience how did the MBA first come about, and then why London Business School as an option?
Right. So initially, my interest in college originated in machine learning and data analytics, and then I got an internship as a data analyst in at Mastercard. And after converting it into a full-time offer, when I started working at Mastercard as a full-time employee, I was exposed to a lot of strategy type of or process designing type of projects as well, where I got a taste of what business side of things looks like along with the technical side of things. So that is where the interest originated, where I loved the idea of problem solving, where you can also focus on the commercial sides of things, the actual things which brings business for any organization. And that is where that idea of pursuing an MBA sparked within me. So after talking to a lot of people in my organization and a lot of partners that I was working with, I came to a conclusion that I need to pursue an MBA, and that is for a future goal of entering into consulting, where I could work on a lot of variety of problem statements rather than being restricted to payments industry or a sales side of things. So that was the main motivation behind pursuing an MBA. Yeah.
All right, and London Business School.
Yeah, and London Business School. So one of my main reasons of idea of pursuing an MBA was not put a lot of money into it. So if I look at MBAs in US, they are like double the cost of the MBAs in Europe. And that was my main motivation behind, only targeting schools that are in Europe, that is INSEAD, HEC Paris, and London Business Schools. And out of those, also London Business School was my target school because again, London is a prime area for consulting, finance, and it is a very cosmopolitan city. So my target school was London Business School, and that was my main motivation. It is one of the best schools for consulting, placements as well. So those two reasons, motivated me to, uh, yeah, pursue an MBA there.
So if you go back to the time when you first thought about an MBA, right? Could you kind of a lot of people wonder how do they start out, right? They know that they want to pursue an MBA, or at least they're curious about it. But like
Right.
if you could take them through like the different steps, obviously as succinctly as you can, about what are the different steps. So here you are, I want to do an MBA. What happens next?
Right. So I think one of the most important step, which took a lot of time as well, was appearing for GMAT. The preparing for it, and then alongside job, and then appearing for the GMAT. And it is a very anxiety-inducing exam also because you have to practice a lot. It is not about knowing a lot, but it is about practicing a lot, and you have to take that time out. So initially, when I started, my focus was not on the applications, but I just wanted to give that exam, attempt that exam fast because the score is valid for 5 years, and I'll then look into the options of starting the application. So I appeared for my GMAT, and luckily I got a very good score. And And then, since I had gotten a good score, I started thinking about my applications since I have already, I'm before round one. So in June, I started looking out for consultants and talking to alumni from different schools about what should be the next steps, about for how to go forward with the application, and started researching online as well. So a lot of applicants, told me that if you need to have a very good profile, and you need to be very confident on yourself if you are doing this process without a consultant, and a consultant is a very important part of the process. So that was the overall sentiment that I got from the alumni that I talked to. So I decided to, look for consultants that I could work with for my application process. I looked at 2, 3 applicants in the consultants in the market, and I think another important point that I want to stress here is Tilden's price point was, comparatively much better as compared to the consultants, and I think that was one of my main reasons that I decided to go forward with the Tilden uh, mentors. And another of my friend one of my friends also recommended me that Sumit recommended Sumit. So he gave very good feedback about Sumit, that how he likes to work with one-on-one with the applicants directly, and how focused attention you get in Tilden. So I after talking to him, I decided to go forward with the Tilden, and I think it was one of the most crucial steps in my application. I am very happy with those service that I got at Tilden, working with Sumit. It has been an absolute pleasure. It did not it did not feel like I'm working with a consultant, but it felt like a mentor. He has been a mentor throughout the process. So we started out with writing our story pitch, and I had a very different story in mind to start with. Then, with the help of Sumit, I was able to refine it into an application that makes sense to London Business School. So we carved out a long-term goal, short-term goal, and everything that could fit in for my looking at the experiences that I had in past. So the application process was very stressful, but with the help of Tilden and of course Sumit, we got through it. Then I got my interview invite, and in the interview call that you have before actual interview, there were a lot of consultants there. So everyone was from consulting or finance industry, and I was very scared that I am from not consulting or not finance. I'm from a very different field. But then having mock interviews with Sumit, I worked it out, and I completed my application and got my admit finally. Sorry, I stretched it for too long.
No worries. I think that is exactly what we wanted to understand. So obviously, when you were going through it, right, when we always hear about LBS and all these top schools, you're thinking about somebody who has like a superstar sort of a profile as such. So what advice would you give to people, right? If they feel if you have if you do not have a profile which could be superstar. Obviously, personally, I felt you had a really good profile, but like, again, everybody kind of compares themselves with XYZ, and then they might self-rate themselves lower or something, right? What advice would you have for such people, and like how should they really look at their targeting top schools?
Right. According to my understanding, people from consulting and finance enter into MBA, and they get into those schools. But then, after entering that process and completing that process, I think it is a very well balanced class that you have in every MBA school. So it is not just all people are from consulting or all people are from finance, but actually people from very diverse backgrounds. And I think what is important is not the achievements that you have, but how you highlight them, how you carve out the story, that you are able to highlight all the achievements succinctly, and you connect all the dots, and don't need to have a lot of stars in it. You need to make them sparkle. So I think creating that story is important, not what you have achieved. I mean, that is also important, but then you don't need to stress about, I have not been able to work at an NGO, or I have not been able to do some social work, or
Hmm.
things like that. I think it is good to have them, but it is not the whole highlight of your pitch, I think.
Got it. Got it. Another thing I wanted to ask you is about the actual process, right? So, obviously, without revealing like specific steps and all that, which are proprietary, but like how, how did you kind of look at the overall process? How did you approach it? Specifically, are there things that you really enjoyed, and are there other things that you found more challenging?
Yeah, I think the most exciting part of the process was creating a story. Like, remembering all the achievements that you have till now from school, from the beginning. What are those experiences that made you what you are today? I think that was the most fun and interesting part of the application, creating that story. And then you start with those questions that are there in the essays, and you have to go through multiple drafts, you have to create multiple drafts, and sometimes it is very difficult and you get stuck about what is that I'm missing, in the process, what is that I'm not able to get exactly. And that is where I think consultant role of a consultant is very important as well. So I think wherever I felt stuck, Sumit was there to guide me with what direction I should take, or give me ideas about these are the three possible directions you could take. So I think the challenging part was creating those drafts of application, and there is an anxiety till the date of the deadline as well. So uh, I think that was challenging, and then everything else was after that was smooth, because then you only have interviews and then application. I think that was the most challenging part. Yeah.
Wow, thank you. Yeah, of course. In the process itself, as most of you guys would already be aware, I mean, there are lots of different steps that Aditi did cover. So obviously, you have to choose the right schools. In her case, she had a pretty clear geographical preference, right? So obviously, we worked around that and made sure we kind of referred to, the past admits that we've had who were with Tilden to kind of guide her about specific areas that she could really focus on. I think that's absolutely crucial rather than, just treating this as an abstract process. The more objective you can make it based on past data is very crucial. And I think that's one of the fundamental ways that we as children work, right? Not to really make this into an ad, but that's truly what enabled us to kind of understand sort of the hidden sort of gems in what Aditi brought to the table, and that we kind of compared with, like, how past people like her had really pitched, right? Because that gave us the confidence that if it had worked well in the past, then that was a direction that we could definitely explore. Not to say it's a copy paste, but obviously it gives you some objective data to be able to take it forward. And of course, I think she did a fabulous job in terms of the essays, the resume building, uh, working with her recommenders as well, kind of giving them whatever information they needed so that they could present her in the manner that, they could get the pitch the best out of her, I'm sure. So all of those things, and of course, the interview itself. So those were like the different steps that, we went through in the process. So again, one final question I have for you, which I like to ask all of my mentees is, if you look back at the process and the overall experience, right, what would you do differently and what were your key learnings?
Uh, my key learnings have been that, if I would have been able to go much further in the past, I would also start making my profile more well-rounded. I think that part was missing when I was working on the applications. If I could, even start further 3 years back about having an MBA 3 years later, that would have been better, I think. And then another key learning for me has been on the interview process as well, that I think I took interview process quite lightly and I started preparing for it late. So if you can, start preparing and working with Sumit, or maybe, researching online about how to prepare and make your answers quite coherent with your application. And there are small things like looking into camera and smiling while giving your answers, and small things, if I could make them better, that would have smoothened my experience even more. So those are the two things I would like to call out.
Right, right. So with that, I think, the main thing is that today you're a proud London Business School admit. So once again, hearty congratulations from me and my team. We're really, really excited about what future holds for you, Aditi. And obviously, be in touch. But I hope that all the rest of you, the audience, really has found this video beneficial. We try to make these videos about the mentee's experience rather than, like trying to pitch any particular process or step or firm. So that's kind of genuinely which we hope that will make you, will enable you to make the right decision. Of course, if you need our help, we are there. Obviously, you can reach out to us at connect@tilden.in, which is connect@tilden.in, or you can visit our website at www.tilden.in, right? So with that, we will conclude our interview, Aditi. Yeah, I wish you
Yeah.
all the best. And yeah, obviously, do well, and yeah, always there.
Thank you so much, Sumit. It has been a pleasure working with you.
Bye-bye. Take care.
Thank you.